Hey everybody, it's Tanya Smith here of Get Noticed with Video and Stream Like a Boss TV. I am super excited as always to be here with you. I want to thank you so much for watching. And I want to dive into our topic, but first I want to ask a quick question. Who's here and where you're from? If you're new to the show, I want you to type in hashtag newbie. And if you have been here before, you're one of our OGs, so type in hashtag OG. I am, as I mentioned, Tanya Smith. I am thankful and grateful to be here. The purpose for me to do this show, Stream Like a Boss TV, is really to focus on helping service providers to leverage live streaming so that you can serve more people, stand out online, and sell more of your services. So we talk about different topics that are going to be useful, hopefully relevant and helpful to you to really create content strategy around the idea of video content, video media. All right, I see some folks in the house. It's wonderful to see you, Debbie and John Lacey, both OGs. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much for being here. I love it when I get a chance to talk to you. I'm going to be talking about a topic tonight that I think is going to be a little interesting. I came up with the topic for a reason. I usually do. But when I decided on this particular topic, it had to do with, let me just talk about it, being a guest. So if you've been a guest on anyone's show, I want you to just put yes, a guest in the chat. I'm curious to see how many of you have been guests. Look at my brother in the house, Dr. Elo in the house. And then I also see Miss Michelle. Look, it's wonderful to see you all. Let me just put the comments up so that we can see the scroll. The scroll is happening. I'm moving some stuff around, so I want to make sure that I'm getting everyone's comments. So let me do this real fast. Yes, a guest. All right. So Debbie has been a guest on a show before. Look, I have been a guest for several years on different podcasts as well as live streams, and I've had guests. And one of the things that I definitely, yes, you are an OG, sir. One of the things that I've definitely had some thoughts about is how, of course, to be a better host. So we're always working on that. I know Dr. Elo has a show. Yes, so anyone who has a show, you know how difficult it can be to manage the situation, to manage a live stream. And so we want to make sure that we're being the best host. But what if you're getting asked to be on someone's podcast or their live stream, especially? And I will tell you, it's a little bit harder, in my opinion, to be on a live stream because it's like video. There's a whole lot of tech going on. So there's a lot of different things, and you can't necessarily hide that you have on your pajamas or that there's clothes on the bed or that, right? Because everything needs to be a little bit more, I won't say perfect, but a little bit more well thought out when you're doing live streams. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And first question before we go into my little transition video is this. So I got to ask y'all. I thought I'd come up with a question for the day. So the question of the day is, clowns, love them or hate them? Somebody showed a movie the other night because it is close to Halloween, and I can tell you right now, I have an opinion, but I want to know your opinion. So love them or hate them, clowns. What's up, tech troublemaker in the house? What's up? All right. I love it. I love it. I need to know some answers. Clowns, love or hate? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pop this up and look for some answers. Hate clowns. Okay. I knew we were brother and sister. I knew that. Clowns, love them or hate them? Love them or hate them? Love, love, love clowns, but not the freaky ones, Debbie said. Clowns are no longer funny. Tech troublemaker. I am so with you. I'm not a fan of clowns anymore. Maybe I was at some, I don't even know if I ever was. I'm going to be honest. I don't know if I ever was a fan of clowns. But look, I love doing these little quick hitter questions of the day because I'm just curious. I want to know more about you as you're getting to know more about me up here on this video stage, I also want to know more about you too. So I love hearing your answers and seeing your answers rather scrolling. All right, folks, we're going to dive into our training for tonight. You know, we talk about ideas and solutions, not so much that it's this is the end all, right? But I'm going to give you some opinions about how to be a really good guest. And we have 7 tips. I believe I have 7 that we'll go through in just a short second right after this video. So go grab yourself your favorite drink, whatever that might be, water, wine, tea, coffee, because it's starting to get a little chilly where everyone is, at least where we are. So grab that and I'll be right back. Get your pen and paper out and also bring your questions and thoughts because I'm curious about your take on this topic too. All right, I'll see you in just a second. All righty, folks, let's talk about this topic. So, what we're going to talk about right now is the topic of how to be a good guest. I should have said a great guest, but you know what? I just want us to strive to at least be better, right? Let's be good guests. It's definitely difficult. It can be a little bit of a stressful thing when you are a host because you have to make sure all the things are flying information and the tech is right and everyone looks good and you're showcasing your guest in a way that makes them feel honored and makes them feel welcome, but you're also having to make sure you take care of the needs of the audience too. So, on the other side of the table, if you are the guest, what are some of the things that you need to think about in order to really make sure that you're prepping? I've got 7 tips for you, and we're going to go through those right now. And if you've got any to add, I want you to pop those into the chat. And yes, I so agree. I do agree that being a guest is less stressful because you don't have to make sure that all of the things are flying information, but you do have to take care of you. So we're going to talk about you as the guest and see what we come up with some ideas. All right. So I've actually prepared something fun, y'all. This is like really cool because the other day I was challenged to use Ecamm Live, which is what I'm using, and I forgot to say that. I always get asked the question of which platform are you using today? So I am using Ecamm Live. I did schedule through Restream. I had a little bit of a problem because I was actually trying to schedule through Ecamm Live beta version. And something just happened glitchy with my Facebook. So I ended up having to cancel and reschedule. So if you saw multiple notifications, that's why. But right now I'm using Ecamm Live. And I have been using these type of slides for some time with my keynotes, but I haven't ever used them in my live stream. So I just wanted to kind of see how it worked out. And we're going to go through our different points using this little PDF here in Ecamm. So that's pretty cool, huh? All right. So to be a good guest, point number 1, come prepared. Come prepared to share relevant, valuable content. And what do I mean? Yes, yes, yes. So Tech Troublemaker is validating exactly what I'm saying. It is so important to be a guest who's bringing value to your host audience. Let me tell y'all a quick story. So the thing is, not every person is right for your show. I just want you to hear me on this, okay? Not everybody's right for your show. And I know as if you are being asked to be on other people's shows, one of the things you really want to kind of make sure of is that you can contribute something of value, that there's a win-win in the situation. And it's not just, hey, I just need bodies, right? You want to definitely, as a guest, look into, and we'll get into this in a second, so I won't go too far ahead, but you want to make sure that what you offer and what you bring to the table as far as experience and knowledge and stories and the things that you're going to talk about are going to matter to the people that you're talking to. So it's important to really come prepared to share something that's of relevance to the audience that you're going to be speaking to and to make sure that it's valuable. I had a guest once who really, it was kind of interesting because, and I'm not naming names. Let me put this over here. I'm not naming names and putting anybody on blast. I'm just going to say I've learned from the situation, and I hope that this person did too. But at some point, I was that person who was like, hey, I just need bodies because I'm starting out again with doing guest interviews. So just anybody who will be willing to get on my virtual stage, I want you to come and hang out with me and my people, right? And so I found out pretty quickly after the live stream had already started that the person just was really into talking about themselves and their particular niche, which was not a niche that was common amongst my audience. So, really fast, I saw people dropping from the stream and not paying attention and not asking questions or commenting because this person just kind of went on and on and on about their thing and never really made a connection with the audience. So, the important thing that the point I'm trying to get across here is you as the host definitely want to vet your guest before you ask them and invite them to come. But as a guest as well, I feel like you have a responsibility to come prepared to give value and not simply to show up just to talk about yourself and how great you are and how much you love your thing, that it has nothing to do with the people that you're talking to. So that's tip number one. If you agree, I'm very curious about that. But yes, Debbie said, I love the relevant content point. Because yeah, you can share high value content, but how valuable, and it's two different words. Notice that? There's a difference between, or not even a difference, but there is a distinction between what's relevant and what's valuable. Because it still may be valuable content, but if your audience does not care about what you're talking about, if they have no sense of connection whatsoever to that topic, it's not going to be relevant to them. It might have been relevant and valuable to another audience. So that's tip number one. Let's go to tip number two. And since this is my first time there we go. Okay. Doing it in this particular format with our live stream, I want to make sure it goes a little bit more smoothly for you. So here's tip number two: be conversational. How many times have you heard a speaker or someone who has shown up on an interview, on a podcast or a live stream, and they come on and they just answer with one word, answers? So that you can see that the host is struggling trying to get the conversation to take place. And it's like, oh my God, they're not engaging. It's not conversation. It looks like they really rehearsed and tried to prepare so much that they can't pivot. And I'll be honest with you, I'm going to say this. When I do have guests on my show, what I try to do is to give them an advance notice and say, look, here's a set of questions in advance. But I also find that it's really helpful if there's a question that you answer and we need to dig a little bit deeper, I would love your permission to go deeper and let's talk more about whatever it is, right, that caught my attention. So as a host, you want to position yourself to be very curious and you want to make that guest feel comfortable. And as a guest, you want to make sure that you are in a zone where you feel like, look, this is a conversation. I'm going to tell stories around the answers that I give. I want to let people get to know me and be inside my head for a little bit, right? I know that could be a dangerous place for some of us, but yes, oh my goodness. So I've been there too. Yeah, where it's like you're pulling and you're pulling and you're doing this and you're like, come on, give me something that I can work with to make this an engaging conversation. And it just doesn't fly. So that's something I would definitely encourage you as a guest to kind of think about is how Am I a conversational person? Am I a person who feels comfortable on camera? Because we're talking about live stream guests. Can I get to the point to where I feel comfortable enough on camera that I can really just be myself, right? And let go. And still with respect to the audience and to the host. so so you gotta might have to rein it in a little bit depending on your personality, but the goal is to be conversational. So let's see. I'm interested in doing more interviews, but sometimes I think it's better to pre record than do it live, especially if I don't know my guest well, just in case they're secretly a scary clown. So, yes, scary clowns are not my thing, as I mentioned earlier. Look, I have thought about that too, John. And so here's one of the things that I do. I love the engagement that live streaming can give. I love how it gives us both energy, me and my guest, depending on the guest, right? It really helps us to just have that excitement level. We get those questions and we're answering them and we're bouncing off of each other. And it's just so much fun. Look, Dr. Elo knows. I know he's in the house. JP knows. Yeah, so several of you have interviewed each other, right? And it's so much fun to do it live because you have that boost of having the audience interaction. But I will tell you, there can also be some opportunities for pre-recording that make things a little bit easier if you're just starting out, if you're concerned about your guest. And frankly, here's where I am with that. I'm just going to give you my opinion on this one. If you are concerned at all about the guest not showing up well, here's what I would suggest. This is something I've incorporated now into my own flow. That is, we'll have a coffee chat first, right? So before I even solidify the invite, I'm going to say, hey, why don't we do a coffee chat? Let's do a virtual coffee chat and let's talk and get to know each other. And you know what? One of my brothers in streaming, the stream tornado, Gabe Leal, he helped me to understand I needed to do that because there was a point where I was like, oh my God, I love him. I've seen him on videos and I think I know him. We didn't really know each other. And the other thing that the coffee chat did for us and what it does for me now is that coffee chat with my potential guest. I'm saying potential because maybe they're not locked in. Usually they're not locked in yet. We're going to get comfortable with each other so that we do have that flow once we get on live, right? Because we've already had conversation. We've talked about each other's kids and we've talked about the weather and we've talked about how we grew up or whatever the conversation might turn into in the coffee chat, right? So there's a comfort level and it feels better when you get on live. Love it, love it. Let's see. Yes, it will. Silverhead Fitness in the house. Beautiful, beautiful photo. I love it. Recently did my first Zoom interview, and with experience and practice, we'll get better. Yes, you will get better. Let me put some noise on the screen. Hold up. Yes, it will get better with practice. The more you do this, the easier it will get. The more you do your guest interviews, the more you're going to learn. And I got to put this up here too, because I do feel like that was a gold nugget. That was a gold nugget. So thank you, Silverhead Fitness, for that. Yes, Debbie said, I love live and intuitive conversations. Me too, because you just don't know what it will turn into. But the challenge is you just don't know what it will turn into. Right? So it is so important to really kind of get to know that person first. And let's put tech troublemakers tip up here. For guests I don't know well, I send them a list of questions ahead of time to make sure they are prepared. Yes, and we're going to be talking about that in one of these upcoming points. I love it. So, how to be a good guest? Be conversational, not robotic. Remember, this is about people getting to know you. You're kind of the spotlight, right? You're in the spotlight. And so the person that is interviewing you is giving you a chance to really showcase yourself as a human, not just as a robot. Not as a robot at all. I love it. Yes. And if you are dealing with, thank you, Silverhead Fitness, the person who interviewed me had such a positive energy and took my fear away. Yes. Now, this will come with time. If you're just starting out as a host, know that some of you probably are going to have the natural ability to really make other people feel comfortable, but sometimes it doesn't come just as easy. I mean, it wasn't super easy for me at all. And John, I'm going to come back to your question because I love that question. I'm going to come back to that. Okay. All right. So the next tip number 3 of 7. We have 7. I should have put numbers on these. Get to know your host and their audience ahead of time. This is going to get a little bit into your question, John, but I'll dive a little deeper into it in a minute. Get to know your host and their audience. So here's what I'm saying. So one of the things that I like to do as a guest, when I've been invited to someone else's house, I want to know what, and I want you to think about a physical house, okay? If you were invited to someone's home, you've never been to their home before, you don't know where they live, what are you going to do? You're going to research, you're going to find out, okay, what's the address? Oh, what part of town is that on? Okay. Right? Either or, oh yeah. I'm going at 7:00 at night. Right? And I'm going to be at this person's house that I've never been to before. I want you to kind of think about your being a guest on someone's show almost like that. Meaning that you want to get to know who is the audience that this person is inviting you to be in front of. What are their likes and dislikes? If you can find out a little bit more about that. What are some of the things that you know that they have talked about on their shows previously? Go take a look and scan some of their previous shows. If they're doing a podcast or a live stream show, go check them out. Take a look at their website, their socials, and find out more about who you're getting ready to put yourself in front of. Because the one thing that you want to definitely know is when you are a guest on someone else's show, that can connect your brand to theirs. That can be for good or it can be for bad. So you want to make sure that you're comfortable with whatever that connection is. When people see you, they think of the other person or vice versa, and you're good with that. So get to know them ahead of time, because then it's going to help you to prepare for the type of questions you might get from the audience. It's going to help you to know if that's definitely a space that you want to play in. It's going to help you to know if that connection is something that, again, will allow you to offer relevance and high value content when you show up. And it's okay to say no. So I always try to tell us, I remind myself of this is why I'm sharing it with you, that we can give ourselves permission to say no. The word no is an entire sentence. No, thank you. Even better. Because I've been taught manners. So no, thank you. This is not the right fit for me at this time. But if I think of some referrals, I can certainly send some your way, if that's truth, right? So really be thinking about how to be a good guest by getting to know who it is you're getting ready to work with. So that's our next tip. Let's do another tip. And then I think I want to answer John's question, because this is going to be definitely related to that. Actually, we'll do it on the next one, John. Take the time, and if anyone else has questions, please pop them into the chat, because I want to make sure that I try to address anything that I can. And if I don't know the answer, I will say, I don't know. So definitely pop your questions in the chat. Take the time to prepare your surroundings. What do I mean by that? As a guest, you may not be quite ready to have like a whole super studio set up, right? You may not be able to use fancy technology, and maybe you're just using the webcam that's built into your laptop, and you're using what you have, but you still know you're coming with, you're a powerhouse with what you do, and you're coming to deliver that valuable, relevant content. That's great. But you also need to make sure that you're intentional about how you're creating a scene. Okay. So, whatever is in the frame of your camera, whatever you're showing and showcasing to people, that is going to either help to build credibility or it could take away from the credibility. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean, again, that you have to use something fancy and you don't necessarily have to do a green screen and all of that. You literally can have a blank or solid color wall, maybe one single plant on the side or nothing, just a wall and you. But you do want to make sure that you don't have like a lot of clutter. Because here's the thing, and it's not even so much about clutter. I am a neat freak at home. Yeah, kind of. But it's not so much about that. It's about this. And this is the point that I want you to take away for any type of communication that you're doing with anyone, anywhere. The goal of your communication is that what you're saying out of your lips reaches the ears and the mind of the person that you're talking to. So when you're doing a live stream and you're being interviewed and you're answering the questions, what you don't want are distractions. You don't want people thinking about and asking about all the stuff that's around you in your background. You want them paying attention to you. Eyes on me, right? You want them to hear the message that you're sharing. You want them to understand the points that you're making. You want to get your point across. So when I say take the time to prepare your surroundings, what I mean is you want to remove as many distractions and obstacles as possible and make sure that you're presenting yourself in such a way that your message is being heard and felt and seen, because you can get all of that through live streaming video. And you know I can go on a whole other tangent about that, but I'm going to stop. All right, folks. We just got a few more, and then I definitely want to take some questions. And I have to answer John's question because John is asking this. And this is where I'm going to pop his question up right now. Do you give guests a list of ground rules? Yes, as a matter of fact, I do. So I give it in a couple of different places. And I help with this point that I'm making about being unfamiliar with the text. Yes, I know, right? So John offered a few. Put your phone on mute, lock the kids out of the room. So many potential distractions. Yes, I actually do have, and I'll see if I can pull that up for you all after I get done with these points. I'll pull up my little handy guest checklist because what I'm trying to do with my checklist for them and with my communications, there's a couple of things, a couple of places where I do this. One is in my invitation letter. I'm kind of sharing with them, here's the flow of what my show is about. And this is how it's going to work. And I would love for you to be a guest. And here's why I think you would make a great guest. And if I can pull out something that, really caught my eye about them or their personality or their show, I want to put that into the email too. So I'm laying ground rules, and the expectation setting begins with the invite. Then I also, once they've confirmed and they've booked their appointment, while they're booking their appointment, they're answering certain questions that are asking them about their technology. Why? Because I understand that not everyone is a live streamer. Now, for my purposes of my show, I do want to talk to video people. I want to talk to people who are already using video, live streaming especially, so that they can help. Here's my purpose for my show. I want to make sure that people who are wondering and thinking about doing live video can see the possibilities. They can see where we all came from. So we, meaning myself and my guest, here's where we started and here's how we started using video. And this is why it works for us. And these are tips that you can use to help you make it possible too. I want people to see the broader, bigger opportunity for their own businesses and for themselves. So I'm clear about expectations and what I'm looking for in my communications. Now, as far as a guest rule, I will, like I said, I'll try to pull that up in a second so I can kind of show you what my little list looks like. And that might be helpful for you to kind of see that. Okay. Tech Trouble, I love it. Tech Troublemaker says, my shows are family friendly, so I ask my guests no language and keep it PG or better. And Tech Troublemaker, I do the same. I actually do say, I have a little line in there that says, I am a grown adult. It says something like this, but I do want to make sure we respect, people of all types that are watching the show. So please, yeah, watch the language. I mean, that's just a thing for me. And apparently that's a thing for you too, given the type of content that you share. And you get to, as the host, you get to set the tone and the stage for how you want your show to run. So, as a guest, to be a good guest, you should get familiar and pay attention to whatever communications are being sent to you so that you can be respectful and you can know, okay, here's the expectations, right? But if your host has not set those expectations, and I'm trying to pull this up for you, I think I almost have it. If your guest hasn't or your host hasn't set those expectations, it's a good idea for you to ask. Like, tell me what are the expectations so that I know. Tell me what type of technology you're using. As a guest, I found out quickly that I needed to understand what are they using so that I know that I can match, hopefully I can match my level to their level with the tech. And even if I can't, I want to know what the workarounds might be so that I don't show up and end up floundering on video. Because we're talking about live stream guests, right? So I don't want to have my screen all glitchy, and I don't want to be stopping and starting and having people wonder where I went when I dropped off. So you want to get familiar enough with the tech of being a live stream guest so that you can show up brilliantly. That's what we want. So I do have my guest prep checklist, and I'll pull it up for you in just a second and I'll walk you through a couple of points, but I won't spend too much time on it. All right, let's see. I think we have maybe one or two more. So be a good guest by confirming the timing of the live. When do we go live? Look, everybody's in so many different time zones now that one of the questions, if you haven't been clear and you don't feel clarity around this because the emails you got, the calendar invites you received, all of those things, something is not quite clear in the email about the timing, meaning that you think that that person who's interviewing you is in Seattle, Washington, but you're on, I don't know, you're in Florida. And did they put it in their time zone or is it in your time zone? You want to double check the email communication. You want to make sure you know exactly when the live is. And if it's not clear, just double check by sending them a note and saying, hey, is this going to be on Pacific time? Or is it on Central or Eastern time? Or what time zone is it? Like, is the person overseas? You want to know these things so that you know that you show up, right? At least a few minutes before, depending on what the arrangements are. Show up on time and probably a little early so that you can be prepared for any potential glitches or things that need to be adjusted before you go live. I hope these points are helping. And again, if you do have questions, don't hesitate to ask because I can answer the questions for the most part, I think. But if I can't, I will let you know. Okay, so here's another thing. And let me put up John's note. Let's see. Had a podcast guest years ago and thought the time we agreed on was good, but it turned out they were working night shift and they really weren't at their best. That is another thing too, John. And based on what you mentioned earlier, there's a point I'm glad you brought me back to. If you have a live stream show that goes live at a certain time, like I do, and you have guests that just cannot make that time, because I actually have someone that I have in mind right now who's already let me know, hey, I have to do it during the day. That's my best time. I have little tiny babies, and at night it's just going to be really difficult. And so we're going to do one of two things. Either we're going to do a special edition version for her and with her, or we're going to do a pre-recorded. And it's easy now for all of the streaming platforms, which, by the way, my streaming platform webinar, Choose Your Best Streaming Platform webinar, is taking place next Tuesday. I believe Tuesday is November 1st. So, November 1st, we're doing a Choose Your Best Streaming Platform webinar. So, I'll make sure to put the link up for you, but it's tanyasmith.link/webinar. You definitely want to show up if you're trying to figure out what platform is best. But all of them now have the pre-recorded, you can upload a pre-recorded video and then you can broadcast it at a specific time. So if that works for some of your folks or for all of them, if that's what you prefer to do, that is an option. Be a good guest, ask for questions and or the focus of the podcast live stream, etc. Ask for the focus of the live ahead of time. That speaks to the first point where we talked about having the relevance, right? You can't be relevant and you can't provide value if you don't know what the person's even going to be focused on in their live. Thank you, John. John is the bomb. John just put it up for me because I forgot to type it and put it into the chat. So that is the link right there. And we do have limited seats, so you want to get on in because it's free. And I'm trying to get everybody ready for Black Friday deals because I know some of these platforms are going to have some deals, y'all. And you want to get in on that, but you want to find the right one because most of the time these deals are annual subscriptions. So I want to help you choose ahead of time, November 1st. So come and hang out with me. Okay, so we should have maybe one more. Let's see. I don't know. I'm going to double check it real quick here. Maybe one more. That's our recap. I'm going to come back to that. Because I want to share with you my screen. So I'm going to show you I'm going to do this one. There we go. So John had asked about prep. Like, do I send them rules in advance? Right? So remember, there's really 3 points, 3 times where I'm communicating and I'm making sure I'm setting expectations. So time number 1 is when I send the invitation and kind of set the expectation of what the show is about. Time number 2 is when they book through my scheduling calendar. And when they're booking through the scheduling calendar, I have a questionnaire. It's a light questionnaire that they can fill out to tell me more about them, to upload their headshot, to make sure that they tell me what kind of tech they have. Are they going to be broadcasting with an Ethernet cable or what's happening here so I can know how to prepare on my end too for that. I ask them, are they familiar with Ecamm Live? And if not, I offer them a practice run with Ecamm because it can be a little tricky. Right? And you can do that with any platform. You can offer a practice run for people who are not familiar with the tech that you use. So in my guest prep checklist, this comes to them after they've booked the call. So we have the date set. We know that we're going to be meeting on X date. They instantly are sent to this page where I have a little video, and I'm not going to play the whole video. So this is like a little less than 5 minute, maybe a little over 5 minute video. But the reason why I have this video here is because I am walking them through this information on the guest prep checklist. So I'm helping them to see, hey, I want to confirm the focus of the video and the podcast. I'm reconfirming what we already said. I'm offering that practice run. If they don't know Ecamm Live, so that's a little calendar there for the practice run. I'm giving them the list of questions in advance. I'm reminding them to upload their headshot, their socials, and their bio. I'm telling them what's going to happen during the live. At the very beginning of this guest checklist, though, I tell them it's a good idea for you to bookmark this page, right? Bookmark this page, and I give them what the bookmark link is. I also, because this is QuickPage, and if anybody wants to know how to access QuickPage, I can share my link. But QuickPage is really cool because they also are able to download this handy PDF that has a summary of all my tips. So if somebody's not going to pay attention to the 5-minute video, that's fine, but they'll see it in the writing, in the text, or they can see it in the handy dandy, cute little 7 Tips to Rock Your Live interview PDF that they can download. So I try to make it as simple as possible for my guests to show up so that when they get on camera, they look great, they sound great, they know what we're going to talk about, and we're ready to go. Like, there shouldn't be any questions about, well, what were you talking about again? like everybody knows what's going on. So that is how I roll. I hope that answered your question, John. That is how I do it. Let's see. Miss Silverhead, fitness in the house. The timing of this topic, Tanya, flowed well with my current interest. We'll view the post again. Thank you. You're very welcome. I'm so glad that this is a timely topic for you, and I hope that you will come back and hang out with us again for future videos. All righty. I'm looking to see if I see any other questions. You're welcome, John. I'm glad you liked it. Look, folks, the thing is, and I'll see if I can get our little handy screen back up. I'm going to do for sure. Yes, thank you. I'm going to do my little quick hitter reels / TikTok / YouTube shorts recap in a second, but I wanted to make sure to pull this up too. So let me do a couple of things real quick here that I didn't do in advance. Number one, let me go ahead and remind you to sign up for that webinar. And look, I'm going to go and pull John's comment since I didn't type it in because I'm lame like that tonight. TanyaSmith.link/webinar is where you can find the webinar that we're doing next week, November 1st, on choosing your best live streaming platform. Look, it's just going to be fun, and we're hanging out, and I'm doing a demo of at least 5 different platforms, y'all. So we're just going to chill, and we're going to walk through that. And if you are live in attendance, I do have a bonus decision matrix that I've created. It's a little chart that you can look at to help you to make those decisions. So more about that if you sign up, then you'll get the emails and all that good stuff. Okay, let me do this. I am going to pull this over here because I need to do my little handy dandy recap. And then watch this. This is how we do it because we got this tip. I got this tip from one of my buddies in the Live Streaming Pros cohort that we're going to get our reels and our live stream done at the end of every live. So it's saving me a ton of time. And I hope it also is helpful to you by simply just making sure that you have kind of a quick hitter summary of what we talked about. So we're going to do this in just a few short minutes. Tip number 1, if you want to be a good guest. Number 1, always give good value. So make sure that you're sharing something of relevance that the people who are in the audience want to know about. Make sure that you're keeping it connected to and aligned with the show and the purpose of the show and the person that invited you to the streaming show. Number 2, be conversational. So when you're answering questions, just think of it as a conversation across the table. It doesn't have to be robotic. It doesn't have to be so prepared that it sounds like a script. You want to be a real human being when you're on that show and show up as the human to human interaction is something that everybody needs right now. You want to be that person that people get to know, like, and trust. Tip number 3 is to familiarize yourself with the host and the host audience. You want to really understand who they are, what they're about, what's their focus, so that you can deliver something of relevance and value. Tip number 4, ask for tech support. If there's something you don't know, if you don't know how to, for instance, use the microphone correctly so that you can sound, like a quality guest, and that your sound levels are even or at least somewhat even to your host, you want to know that. You want to kind of do a practice run if you need to. So just reach out and ask for help. The next tip is to confirm timing and time zone. Yes, you probably got an email, but you may or may not have gotten confirmation on what time zone it was. And you also want to make sure that it's going to be a time when you're actually available and can remove everything else. And if for some reason you have a conflict that comes up and you can't be a guest on the show, you need to make sure you let your host know in advance so that they can release that seat for someone else. That's just courteous. And the final tip is to prepare ahead. And if you don't know what the questions are in advance, you can always ask, what are the questions and how does the flow run for your show so that I can be as prepared as possible? It's okay to ask. If they haven't shared that with you in advance, they may not have even thought you needed to know because maybe it's just one of those off the cuff type of shows, but you want to kind of know if it's an off the cuff show so that you can be prepared to answer on the fly. All righty, folks. That is the wrap. I love it. Tech Troublemaker, yes. The idea of creating a tutorial video for my guests to help with the tech and prep. Yes. Yes, because not everybody knows. And depending on the type of show you have, depending on the type of audience and the guests that you have coming on your show, they may be at different levels. And I literally have had people at all levels be on my shows, the different guest interviews I've done. And sometimes they just don't know what they don't know. So extending them the opportunity so that they have some ideas about here's some of the things to expect. That's really been helpful, at least for my show, to say, for instance, hey, before you get on, one of the things I suggest you do is to shut down all your windows except the one or two that you might need up for your talk with me. But shut everything down. Make sure you shut down and restart your computer ahead of time. Make sure you check your internet speed by going to speedtest.net. So I give them very specific tips like that so that they feel confident that they're going to show up in a way that makes them look the best. And it makes me look like a good host, right, for the show. All righty, folks. I hope that this has been helpful to you. If it has, let me know. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe. You know, all the things. I need to make sure I have my buttons ready, but make sure you continue to stay connected with us because we're going to be doing more stuff with Stream Like a Boss TV. And if you ever want to know what our live stream schedule is, you can always go to that link from your mobile device or your laptop or desktop. And you can always visit me as well at getnoticedwithvideo.com to find out more about what we do, what we're all about, and where our focus is. Thank you so much, Silverhead Fitness, for being here for the first time. Tech Troublemaker, good to see you. John Lacey, goodness, all of you. Michelle, OG in the house. Debbie, it's good to see all of you. Dr. Elo, yes, Elo. I always want to do like an echo, echo, echo. Anyway, y'all. Okay, before I get too silly, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you. And I hope that I get to see you next week, either for the webinar where we're talking about how to choose your best streaming platform, or for our next live stream show on Thursday. All right, take care, everybody, and have a wonderful evening. I'll see you next time in the stream.